Michael Penix Jr. is next up. And Brady, I'll ask the question that I ask every time. We talk. You just said tape, tape, tape. Why are we not taking Michael Penix Jr.'s tape seriously?
No, I think we are. I am. That's one of the reasons why I've got him where he is, and I would put a first-round grade on him because if you're grading the tape, the past 2 years, it's hard. You're hard pressed not to sit there and go, he should be a first-round pick. But obviously, everyone knows about his path medically, the injuries he sustained. That's an issue. You look at some of the guys he's thrown to too, and if we talked about the concerns of, okay, well, where's all the production come from? Is the receivers, the quarterback, chicken and egg here? You get a little bit of that too, I think, with Washington's system. They throw the football a lot. That's part of it. I feel like when we watched what CJ Stroud did this past year, and until the Georgia game, I think people were like, man, how athletic is he? Can he move around? And then you saw it in the Georgia game. We're like, all right, well, why didn't he do it more? Or whatever the questions were. I've heard that a little bit about Michael Penix. And it's like, well, look, I've been watching this young man since he was at Indiana. Like, I've seen him make some athletic plays. I think he's a little better athlete than people realize, but I think he's had to change his game because of how many knee injuries he's had. So that's really the concern, I think, is more just the medical. But, man, his tape, the way the ball comes out of his hand, he's talking about layering throws, talking about moving within the pocket to throw down the field and make plays. That's all out there. So I've got him as a guy that I think is as highest could go as 3.
Cool. What?
But I think, based on the tape, yes. But I also think there's a chance that he drops to the second round because people are concerned about the medical. And so, this is a little difference as far as where the ceiling and floor is, because to me, at least, there's unknowns. So I'm curious to see what Rick has to say about this.
So we all had him. Let me say quickly, Rick, we all had him number 5 on our list. Go ahead.
Yep. I had him as high as 13 to the Raiders.
Oh.
And then I had him potentially going in the second round, but this may be a player, depending on how teams graded him medically. Didn't hear anything negative coming out of the medicals. He participated at the combine, which gets a check in my box. And I wouldn't be surprised if a team that didn't get their quarterback that is in the second round moves up to the bottom of the first to get the 5th-year option, like we did with Teddy Bridgewater, like Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson. I could see someone doing that with him and moving back into the bottom of the first if he goes past the Raiders, which I think he will, to get that 5th-year option on him just because of the talent to throw. The only thing that he needs to work on, again, he's not the athlete of some of these other guys, but he may be the best deep ball thrower. It's when the pocket isn't clean, and you saw that in the national championship game a couple of times. It was like Katie barred the door that they came through, and just, when it gets noisy in the pocket and he does it. Now, to me, he's got that sense or knack to move around inside the pocket to create a little time. But if it gets noisy around his feet and stuff, does that bother his accuracy, or is he as good, especially with the way he got hit in that national championship game? That's the only thing because that was the last impression that you saw of him in college. You can't take that as your deciding factor, but it brings up the question on some of the getting the ball out and when there is pressure coming at you, and whatever reason, Michigan had an unbelievable defensive game plan against him. Can he handle that at the next level? Because the pockets aren't going to be as clean as they are, when he was at Washington.
And he did have a great offensive line. I do want to ask you that, Rick, is my kind of comp for him, just because it's hard with a left-handed quarterback coming up with a comp, given his track record, history, everything else. And he's kind of got a unique throwing motion. I kind of said he reminds me of Stroud, just in the sense of the downfield accuracy, height, size. They're similar in that nature. But I guess a contrast or difference there where Stroud left on quite possibly his best game ever of his career, right, whereas Penix maybe over the past couple of seasons left on one of his lowest games.
Yeah, and that's what you got to be careful of when you're judging this kid. Look at the overall picture. Don't look at the last game, So I have to say I was reading through a bunch of clips, watching tape, and watched him throw. And one of the interesting comps I saw out there, and I'm not going to take credit for it, but kind of made sense to me, was a little bit of Brissett.
All right. You can take credit for it.
It's hard for my mind to switch them around and the righty lefty thing. I was looking through all time left-handed quarterbacks. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't find one.
Now it's easy to say Tua, but I think he has a stronger arm than Tua down the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He didn't like the Tua comp either because he said essentially that it was lazy because they're both left-handed. I get that. So I walked back my Tua comp after he said that. Right to my face. By the way, Rick, where would you have been on Michael Penix Jr. if he, after the Texas game, just decided, which was a high note, that was his Georgia game, so to speak, for CJ Stroud. If he just decided not to play in the the finals, but he ended on a high note.
Yeah, if he decided not to play in the national championship game,
but ended on a high note though. He had a great.
If he had a great, I would still say there was a couple of times where it got noisy in the pocket. That if the pressure is around his feet, that's where the accuracy issues start to show up a little bit. Now he can move and make his feet clean in the pocket, but like I said, it was magnified or amplified, whatever you want, whatever term, in that national championship game.
A couple things I'll note before we take a break here. Number one, he would have been better protected if his offensive linemen weren't wearing shorts, which is one of Rick's big things.
I hate that.
Number two, we talk about Caleb Williams feeling frenetic at times. When you sort of watch his feet are like CJ Stroud. He's incredibly calm in the pocket. It felt like Drake was a little more nervous. Michael Penix Jr. when he was pressured, just something that I noticed in passing. And we're all right. Let's take a break here. But Debo wants me to mention we're skipping over Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler. Super disrespectful to both those guys, mostly Spencer Rattler. But then we're going to get to our tiers and historical rankings.
I wish I could give you my comp for him, by the way, too, because you're gonna be like, "What the hell?"
Let's do it. Let's do it real quick. Which guy, Bo or Spencer?
Spencer.
Yeah. What's your Spencer comp?
Size and then kind of similar, somewhat productivity. I don't know if that the South Carolina offense helped Spencer Rattler, but Chase Daniel. As far as just spitting the football out, spinning it.
I like it.
That was kind of my comp for him, but both, I think, 6 foot.
Yeah, that's right.
Pounds or so, kind of slinging around. So I kind of felt like a little bit more of that. But Spencer Rattler was a tough one for me because he throws the ball so fluidly, kind of has that whip to it. But Chase had a little bit of that too.
Do you have a Spencer comp that you want to make amends to our buddy Spencer real quick, Rick?
Yeah.
Be nice.
Jaron Hall.
That's
BYU.
That's the opposite of nice.
I feel like he's a better athlete, though, is he not?
He's a little better athlete, but I'll give you this stat that I was reading through stats. I was looking at stats and all that stuff. Statistically, height, weight, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He is very similar to Brock Purdy.
Brock has Spencer has a much better arm than Brock, but everything else, right?
Yeah, all the other stuff that you look at, all these analytics people break. It's analytics. It creates conversation. That's all.
Brady.
No, I'm quickly going to say this. So high low. I thought, look, if someone loves him, they feel like there's a need there. They don't get a quarterback free agency. Maybe he gets to 16. In the first round. I know, but I'm saying that's maybe as high as he could go.
Oh, you think so?
Maybe, but low. I had him at 63 in the second round. What team would that be? San Francisco 49ers.
San Francisco 49ers.
And here's the thing, too, is they need a backup. Both their backups are free agents. So that could maybe make some sense there. But
I've talked to teams that like him on day 3. Rick likes him on day 3 as well. I like him on day 2.
Yeah.
That's good. Good for you. He'll be the next Brock Purdy, and you'll be laughing at both me and Brady all the way through.
Brady likes him. Don't put Brady. Don't lump him in with you.
Okay, then you can laugh at me. That's why then you can keep me, and then I probably won't get an extension as scout in the corner.
Oh, stop it. I'll tell you this story that I tell every podcast, Brady, just because I don't think you've heard it. Then we'll take a break and rip through these tiers. At the Combine a couple weeks ago, I was just standing off to the side of the set, and Spencer Rattler came up and said, "Hey," I don't know Spencer. He came up to me and said, "Hey, thanks for having my back," because apparently he watches the podcast because I've been supporting him since September. And he pointed at Rick and goes, "That guy, not so much."
Well, I'll say this about him. He's got maybe some of the most talent throwing the football of anyone in this draft class. So, I'm not sure, again, South Carolina was conducive for, him putting up stats. But, yeah.
He got sacked 9 times in the opener against UNC. I mean, come on, give me a break.
By the way, I was there at the bowl game when they played Notre Dame. They had all those kids who opted out. I mean, it was a back and forth game. It was a ton of fun to watch. I mean, he played well, man. He put the ball in some tight windows. He was a ton of fun to watch.
Any rebuttal, Rick? Or are you good?
Live by the sword, die by the sword.